bookkeeper has been with us a very long time, and we actually got her a car, and
wow,
it was kind of it was something to really recognize her years of service and the fact that she's stuck with us. This was basically her first job since high school, so
wow.
30 years in a business is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of fun to do, and it also really helped the other employees realize that, hey, they do care, and they do want us to be here. So it worked out all the way around.
Welcome to Peer Talk, a dialogue with business owners just like you. Peer Talk conversations run the gamut of business challenges facing owners today. The host of Peer Talk is Dan Crowley, founder and owner of Peer Executive Groups, which provides a safe space for owners to share their experience, grow their businesses, and learn from their peers.
Hi, this is Dan Crowley. We have a number of great owners in our peer group network, just like you, and our job is to give you a voice here on Peer Talk.
Peer Tech is a proud sponsor of Peer Talk. Are your results actionable? View your industry data like never before. Gain insights, view real-time KPIs, drive growth, unlock potential. When you join Peer Tech, your data drives decisions. Peer benchmarking allows you to see your data like never before. Why be satisfied with incomplete data when clear, responsive, real-time trends could be yours? Now is the time to start making insightful, data-driven decisions for your business. Peer Tech. Sign up now.
Today on Peer Talk, we are going to look deeply into multi-site management with Dave Steele from Aurora Rents, who has been with their company almost 25 years. Aurora Rents has been around since 1962 and currently is in 3 locations in Washington, in Shoreline, Green Lake, and Lake City locations around the Seattle marketplace. Welcome to Peer Talk. Today we have a special guest, Dave Steele from Aurora Rents up in Washington, the state, not the District of Columbia. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Dave, you guys have been in the thick of things with all of the changes happening with through the pandemic and the situation with the Great Resignation and the cost of employees. So we're going to touch on some of that today. But the main topic today that we're going to focus on is multi-site management. Looking forward to asking you a whole bunch of questions about that. But before we get started, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about how you found your way into the rental industry?
Well, I was one of those in the rental industry that was born into it. My grandfather started the business. My dad took it over after that, and I've been in it pretty much ever since. Took a little bit of a hiatus in the middle to find my own way, but I realized rentals where I wanted to be, and this is what I enjoy, so that's why I'm here.
So when you came in, was it one of those things where you worked when you were a kid and then you went away to school and then you came back, or was it have you just kind of worked your way up from washing the wash bay into the other roles in the company? What's that been like?
I started in the wash bay when I was a kid. Worked my way up through high school, into college, and then I escaped for a while. Like I said, kind of did my own thing and found my way back. I realized I was a really, really bad employee. I needed to be the boss. So I found my way back, found this is the avenue to make that happen. And turns out I really enjoy it, and I just like to be a part of rental.
So tell us where Aurora Rents is located specifically, and then also, your history. How did it come from being the one location into multiple and all that?
So as far as the multiple locations, we have kind of a weird past because we've tried different locations all over the place. But to start with, we're just north of Seattle, just outside of city limits, with our main location in Shoreline. And then we have 2 other stores that are actually within Seattle city limits. When we've expanded a couple of different times up further north of Seattle. Then we expanded very far north, about an hour north of Seattle, tried that out. But what we found is having the stores in closer proximity to each other really paid dividends as far as sharing equipment, sharing inventories, and keeping the stores going.
So that's interesting. So we have yet to have anyone on the program who has kind of dallied in multi-site. So you've made a couple different approaches. What was that like? Like, was that all in the recent times in the new millennial, or did it happen back in the 80s, 90s? When was that kind of expansion that initially started?
It was initially started, 10, 15 years ago. When we really were serious about it. We always had a second location, starting back in the 80s. But that one, we just found that as we concentrated and brought things back closer to Seattle with the population and so on and so forth, the store seemed to thrive better, and it just worked out.
Gotcha. Excellent. So let's have a little breakdown here on the actual locations. Do you have any just a guesstimate on the employee count at the 3 locations, and give me a name for each location in case we reference back to them?
Sure. At our Shoreline location, which is the one that's just north of Seattle, we have about 20 employees. Then we have what we call our Green Lake location, which is directly south of us, but on the same road. And then that one has about 10 to 12 employees. And then we have our Lake City location, which is kind of in between the two of us, but further east. And that store has about 5 employees.
Gotcha. Okay. And so for the listeners, you operate with a management software. You're using Point of Rental?
Correct.
All right. And then QuickBooks on the back end, or?
Correct.
Okay, excellent. So give us a picture of how you manage from an org chart standpoint. What does it look like? Who's up on the leader group on top, and you guys are talking to each other?
So the way it works is I pretty much act as the manager of our Shoreline location as well as the general manager for all 3 stores. I have a manager at the Green Lake store who is also a partial owner. And then I have a manager at my Lake City store. The 3 of us pretty much make up the main group as far as, who's in charge. Larry, which is my father, has kind of stepped down a little bit, but we always involve him as far as major decisions and things like that. He likes to be involved. He's still working somewhat when he's not on the golf course. He pretty much spends his winters down south, and that helps us and allows us to do our own thing. But he's still involved. He still works on the back end and likes to have his finger on the pulse as it is.
Well, there's no question. I know Larry, and a number of people listening to this podcast know Larry Steele, and he picked up the torch from your grandfather. But I would say there's no question that Larry left a stamp and his vision for Aurora Rents, which now you're transitioning in, and obviously the vision's going to change slightly over time. But right now, what an awesome advisor to have on board, right? To keep the vision going and having everybody aligning with that vision. So that's great. And with those management systems in place, tell us a little bit about how that works. So the stores all pretty much function similarly?
We try to. I mean, that's the goal. My goal is to try and keep everybody working towards the same goal, as well as all the systems be in place that if one person goes from one store to another, they have the same experience. That's been my goal, is to try and get everybody on that same page. It doesn't do any good to have one manager doing one thing and one manager doing another. It just causes conflict and problems all the way around.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's interesting. So we talk about this as, we have a number of members inside peer groups with multi-site is, having that customer experience, that branding, that kind of, familiarity, right? If I end up moving from one location to another to service my needs, because we know our construction management customers are all over the place, and they have multiple sites to serve them. So that's number one. But the second part to that is you touched on the employee experience also. So give me a little bit of information about how you guys communicate with your staff on an overall perspective and then on a store by store perspective. Do they do meetings? Do they anybody go over metrics, any of that kind of thing?
Metrics are usually done with just management and the managers of the other stores. I will share things with certain employees that metrics actually make sense to. For instance, my mechanics will go over, how many hours they've billed versus how many hours of labor they've cost me to bring some of those things to light. But most of the metrics are stuck in between the management. As far as communication with the rest of the stores, I make it a point. I'm at all 3 stores at least once a week. So I try and take the vision and bring it directly to the employees and try and talk with them the best I can. We do have meetings where we all get together. I just don't see the effectiveness as much in the meetings, but it is good to get everybody together and at least put things down on paper and say we've done it and make it happen.
Great. And so, because you have point of rental at each location, which point of rental are you currently running?
We're running Expert.
Okay, great. So with that, you have, how do you, take a new hire into your company? Is there any kind of orientation and training that you can say is consistent for any store? If somebody comes in, we give them this type of experience as an employee. Do you do something like that?
Nothing on paper that we have said that this is the way we do it. We've kind of always worked on the shadow method. So they're going to be shadowing an employee for, at least a week or so as they learn and gain the knowledge of what they're going to need to do their job. Most of the time we're bringing entry level guys in. So it's everything from filling propane to getting them forklift certified to, making sure they understand our policies and so on and so forth.
I know one of the hot topics for your peer group has been employee training and development, starting to create some kind of consistency and pattern. You've been blessed by a couple members in your group that have really kind of rolled up their sleeves and made it their priority. Do you see that as like a way to connect with the employees and try to get better retention?
Yeah, no, I think some of the programs I've seen have been fantastic. And I would need to jump into that mold as well. It's just one of those things that kind of gets put on the back burner, but to make it more of a priority would definitely show some dividends, I believe.
So you have a very interesting, so we'll talk about the cost of labor and labor in general. We've all gone through the Great Resignation. We've had a number of people not come back to the industry. We're seeing those that come back have a little bit more interest in their lifestyle. So they want to have a little more freedom, a little more benefits. We're trying to get similar productivity, but we do see some great suffering on the employee cost side. For example, the peer group book, composite books last year to this year, 2020 data to 21 data, we're seeing almost a 6% increase in labor costs, which is directly impacting EBITDA. So for you guys, you're in the Northwest. Everybody who is working national realizes that Washington State and California are 2 of the hardest places to have employment, especially in this industry. Tell us a little bit about what that's been like in terms of staffing, turnover, any issues there. I mean, you guys are a Top Gun performer, so here you are, one of the most productive financially, and yet you're dealing with one of the biggest, hand grenades when it comes to employee management. So tell us what that's been like for you.
I mean, employee costs have definitely gone up. I mean, it's been, almost exponential. It's been crazy. Not only on the retention side, but to gain new talent has been amazing what you have to pay for, especially when we're looking at mechanic roles or truck drivers. The competition out there for their services right now is very high. I know I had, we've lost employees over pay. I mean, it happens. I've heard other other places offering, big signing bonuses and benefits right away. And it's some of these things that I had never thought that we would see in the rental business, but right now that's happening, among our competitors. So it's kind of interesting. But it's something we're able to navigate. We've been blessed. We have a pretty good crew, and most of them have been pretty loyal, and we've tried to take care of them the best we can.
So you have a unique situation where you have a key employee who is being retained through a bit of a golden handcuff by having them be partial owner, giving up some equity. We've seen some members in peer groups do some phantom stock types of things where it's deferred. So if you leave, you lose it. Do you see that being something that could be more used in the future?
I could see something like that happening. Absolutely. I like that idea. The idea of ownership, it's kind of interesting. 20 years ago, that was kind of the goal of most employees, and they would talk about it on a regular basis. And in today's day and age, I don't even hear about it at all. It's the older group that tends to, start to probe that a little bit. But as far as the younger guys, it's almost like it's something unattainable, and they're not even looking in that direction, which is kind of sad because there's opportunities out there, and there's opportunities for them to make not only a career but a good living.
It seems like there's tremendous weight on ownership and management to educate the younger generations when it comes to things like benefits. And it's not just about what goes in your paycheck, or maybe it is. Maybe we've got it wrong. It's literally, what is your philosophy around employee benefits versus compensation? Do you have a well-rounded package, or you say, no, I'm seeing people leave for dollars, I'm focusing on payroll?
No, we have a fairly extensive, benefits package. And like I said, it's as the employees have been with us a while, as they get a little older, more mature, all of a sudden they realize, these benefits are actually beneficial. And they start to see the value of it. But no, entry-level employee doesn't see the value to a benefit at all. In fact, he'd rather see more money in his pocket than have any benefits at all.
Yeah, we see companies have had to improve communication with the employees, have more regular conversations with them versus just the old traditional annual review of performance. What's that like for you? You specifically with your walk around style, making a point to get to 3 stores in a week. What is that like? Do you feel like you've got to be the communicator?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the best chance I get to get one-on-one with the employees. We try to do annual reviews where I get a chance to sit down with them. I like to know the employees. I like to know what's going on in their lives. I like to know how they're doing, as well as be able to communicate what we can do to help them. And I think that's the biggest advantage it has to I guess you call it my walk around style.
Mm-hmm. And your employees pretty well. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm putting myself out on a limb here because I'm not sure if it was you or another operator. But did you recognize or reward an employee in some manner, like something they liked, and you got them a gift or something like that? I can't remember the story.
Yeah, we had our bookkeeper has been with us a very long time, and we actually got her a car, and
wow.
It was kind of it was something to really recognize her years of service and the fact that she's stuck with us. This was basically her first job since high school. So
wow.
30 years in a business is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of fun to do. And, it also really helped the other employees realize that, hey, they do care and they do want us to be here. So it worked out all the way around.
Yeah, what a message. That's outstanding. And we did this, we pulled some surveys from Bamboo HR, which is a great HR tool. If you haven't looked into it, please look into it and contact us if anybody wants to know more about it. But I will say that, one of the surveys came out with this kind of weird quasi fringe benefit as being a critical component for employees today. And what that has most manifested itself with in rental operations is this ability to feed your employees food. Do you guys do anything like pizza on a Friday or do any kind of grilling or anything like that with the employees?
We don't make it a habit to do it, but yes, it definitely happens on occasion. And it probably should happen more because it usually brings everybody together. But at the same time, that's usually when we're busy, and it's always hard to stop business to make that happen. But we do try and get everybody together and make it happen.
That's great. And so the other thing, any other things related to Aurora Rents related to communicating with the employees or their families, or anything I'm missing with regard to that piece?
No, I think that's, like I said, I try and take a personal approach, and that's the best way we've been able to figure out and make things work.
Okay, so let's get back to the multi-site questions. So the first one for you, and I know we only have a few minutes left here, but what do you see as the biggest challenge managing multi-site when it comes to things like asset and inventory and things like that? What's your biggest challenge there?
It's managing the personalities between the two stores and the management, trying to get everybody on the same page. As far as the assets go, one unique thing that we do, I guess I didn't touch on this, is each one of our locations is actually a separate corporation. So each store owns its own equipment. So yes, it becomes a little bit of a challenge when equipment makes its way to another location. That's, the managers treat that as, hey, that's my equipment. I want it back so I can make money on it. So that is always a battle, is trying to make sure equipment gets back to its home store and is available to rent, because that's the way those managers are going to make money.
Got it. No, that's good. That's actually, that solves some problems that I have another multi-site location right now, and we never even thought of that as a possibility, but we'll have to definitely look into that as a way to solve that inventory movement issue. Interesting. Now, any thoughts on further expansion? Do you see that in your future, or are you saying, hey, I've still got capacity with these three, and I'm going to continue to grow inside these three locations?
Right now, our biggest hurdle is trying to find property. We need to move one of our locations. One of the locations, which is Lake City, is on a lease, and we need to move that location to somewhere new. And so trying to find a new piece of property is what we're looking for now. If that gets moved and gets established, moving into a fourth location is definitely in the cards, but not something that we're even looking at right now.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, and I can see it. I mean, we've seen your year-over-year growth. We see your Top Gun data coming through. So, outstanding job with your fiscal management. And obviously that has to do with how you're operating daily, right? So congrats on that. So we appreciate having you on the show today. Thanks for being here, Dave Steele.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Excellent. And we will be in touch, and stay tuned for another episode of Peer Talk coming up soon.
Peer Tech is a proud sponsor of Peer Talk. Are your results actionable? View your industry data like never before. Gain insights, view real-time KPIs, drive growth, unlock potential. When you join Peer Tech, your data drives decisions. Peer benchmarking allows you to see your data like never before. Now is the time to start making insightful, data-driven decisions for your business. Peer Tech. Sign up now.
You've been listening to Peer Talk from Peer Executive Groups, produced and directed by Noah Crowley and hosted by Dan Crowley. Subscribe to this podcast for notifications of future episodes of Peer Talk.